This is my gas bill from last October, 164. That's for 1 month. Heating a 3-bedroom semi that my wife and I rattle around in. Now look at this wall behind me. South facing. Black paint, 12 pounds from B&Q. A sheet of polycarbonate in front of it, $22. That wall has been heating this room for free every sunny day since I put it up, and cooling it in summer without any electricity at all. Total cost, $34. The principle behind it was patented in 1881. The government commissioned research on it in 1977. Then they buried it. I'm Jack Holloway, 40 years as an industrial maintenance engineer from Yorkshire. Before we go any further, I want to be clear about what this system is and isn't. What I'm showing you today is a passive thermal wall. No mains connection, no gas, nothing that requires planning permission for the vast majority of UK properties under permitted development rights. For a full south wall, always check if you're in a conservation area. That's the one exception. Everything else I'm showing you today is completely legal to do yourself. I'll tell you exactly where any lines are as we go. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build a working demonstration of this principle for under $35 and how to scale it to heat an entire room. You'll also know why every report the government ever wrote about it is sitting in a drawer somewhere, and why the HVAC industry is very glad it stayed there. If that sounds useful, subscribing costs you nothing. It helps me keep doing this. Right. Let's go back to 1973. I was 18 years old when the Arabs turned off the oil tap. October 1973, the Arab oil embargo. Britain panicked. Petrol queues, the 3-day week. Suddenly the government had an urgent interest in finding ways to heat houses without burning imported fuel. They funded scientists. They commissioned the Building Research Establishment, the BRE, to investigate passive solar design. And the BRE found something remarkable, something that had already been patented 92 years earlier. In 1881, an American engineer named Edward Morse filed a patent for a device he called a system for warming and ventilating apartments by the sun's rays. A dark wall, a glass cover in front of it, an air gap between the two, heat stored in the masonry, released slowly into the room at night. That was it. The whole idea, complete, in 1881. It sat largely ignored for 80 years. Then, in 1964, a French engineer named Félix Trombe, working at the CNRS, France's National Scientific Research Center, redeveloped the idea properly. He built it, he measured it, he published the results. In 1967, the first full demonstration house using this principle was built at Odeillo in southern France. By the early 1970s, the U.S. Department of Energy was funding Trombe wall research at Los Alamos National Laboratory. The BRE in the UK published detailed reports from 1977 through to 1982, reports with technical drawings, performance data, cost comparisons. Then, in 1986, the oil price crashed. North Sea gas was cheap and plentiful. The government's interest in passive solar design evaporated overnight. The BRE reports went into the archive. The HVAC industry, gas boilers, electric heat pumps, expensive insulation, had a clear field. The knowledge didn't disappear, it never disappeared. It's in academic journals, passive house architecture circles, the transition towns movement, off-grid communities, but it never made it into mainstream building practice. Nobody told you. That's what I'm here for today. I've been using the thermal mass principle since 1991. I first read one of those BRE reports in a library in Leeds. I tested it on my workshop wall that same summer with a pot of black masonry paint and a sheet of greenhouse glass I had lying around. The wall surface hit 58 degrees Celsius on a clear day in July. The room was 3 degrees warmer than the identical room on the north side of the building. I've been building variations of this ever since. This one here, on the wall behind me, I put this up in March 2022. It's been heating this room every sunny afternoon through autumn and winter and releasing that heat through the evening. In summer, I open 2 small vents I drilled into the polycarbonate and the whole system reverses. Hot air escapes upward through the stack effect, drawing cooler air from the shaded north side. Free cooling, no electricity. The physics is straightforward, and I say this as an engineer. Dark surfaces absorb solar radiation. Dense materials, brick, stone, concrete, store that heat rather than transferring it instantly. Then they release it slowly. A brick wall with the right thermal mass will absorb heat all day and radiate it back into your room from roughly 4 in the afternoon until midnight. That's the hours you actually need it. The polycarbonate or glass cover creates a greenhouse effect in front of the wall, trapping the sun's energy and preventing convective heat loss. That's it. That's the whole system. Now I want to give you real numbers because I've heard too many people make vague claims about this. On a clear day in December, the surface of this wall behind me, the black masonry under the polycarbonate, reaches between 45 and 52 degrees Celsius. I've measured it with a contact thermometer probe. The room with the trombe wall runs consistently 3 to 4 degrees warmer than the equivalent room on the north side without the heating on. In October and November, on good days, the wall surface hits 60 to 65 degrees. In summer, it routinely reaches 70. I'm not going to tell you this replaces your central heating. It doesn't in a Yorkshire winter. What it does is dramatically reduce how often your boiler kicks in, particularly in spring, autumn, and on bright winter days. On a clear day in January, this room doesn't need the radiator until late evening. That's real. I've measured it. A professional passive house retrofit, the kind a specialist contractor installs, runs from $8,000 to $15,000 for a full treatment. A heat pump installation, the government will tell you $8,000 to $10,000. A polycarbonate sheet and a tin of black masonry paint costs $34. Same physics. Scaled down, yes, but the physics doesn't care what you paid for it. Now, the demonstration. I'm going to show you exactly what to build. Here's everything on this workbench. 1 tin of black masonry paint. Wickes sell it for $750 for 750 milliliters, B&Q similar. 1 sheet of 6 milliliter twin wall polycarbonate, 600 by 900 millimeters. Wickes have it for $21.50, Travis Perkins similar. 4 lengths of 50 millimeter timber batten, roughly $4 for what you need, any timber merchant or B&Q. 8 masonry screws, 60 millimeters, $2 for a pack of 10 at Screwfix. 2 contact thermometer probes. I used the cheap ones from Amazon, about $8 for a pair. That's your total. Roughly $43 for the full demonstration build. The black paint and the polycarbonate are the functional components. Everything else is just mounting. Step 1. Identify your wall. South-facing is not a suggestion. It's a requirement. East and west walls are not effective for this purpose. You want a wall that gets direct sun from mid-morning to mid-afternoon. In the UK, south is the only reliable option. Make sure the wall is solid masonry, brick, stone, concrete block. Cavity wall on the outside face will work. Timber frame walls have much lower thermal mass and the effect is significantly reduced. Step 2. Clean the wall surface. Remove any loose render or paint. You want the black absorber coat to bond properly to the masonry. Brush it down. If there are cracks, fill them first. You're not sealing the wall, you're just giving the paint a clean surface. Step 3. Paint the wall with black masonry paint. Cover the entire area you're working with. For this demonstration, roughly 1 square meter. 1 coat is sufficient for most applications. Leave it to dry for a full 24 hours. This is non-negotiable. I've seen people rush this, and the paint remains tacky and doesn't reach full solar absorptivity. 24 hours. Step 4. Mount your battens to create a 50 to 75 millimeter air gap between the wall surface and the polycarbonate cover. Horizontal battens top and bottom, vertical battens at each side. The air gap is the critical dimension. Too narrow and you lose convective heat circulation. Too wide and you lose heat to the larger air volume. 50 to 75 millimeters is the range the BRE research established. I use 60 millimeters. Step 5. Fix the polycarbonate sheet to the battens. For a demonstration, 2 screws per batten is sufficient. Leave the bottom of the polycarbonate slightly proud of the bottom batten, a 10 millimeter gap. Leave the top similarly open. This allows natural convection. Cool room air enters at the bottom, heats in the air gap against the black wall, rises and enters the room at the top. This is your passive heating cycle. The stack effect does the work. Now, 2 holes for summer. Once you're satisfied with your installation, drill two 20mm holes in the polycarbonate, one at the very top and one near the bottom. In winter, you cover these with small pieces of tape, 50 pence from any hardware shop. In summer, you uncover them. Hot air rises and exits through the top hole. Cooler air from the shaded side of the building is drawn through the lower area. That's your passive cooling. No electricity, no moving parts. Attach your temperature probes. One on the black wall surface inside the air gap, one in the room interior. On the first clear day, come back at 2 in the afternoon. The wall surface probe will read between 45 and 65 degrees, depending on the time of year and the quality of the day. The room probe will show the difference accumulating. Come back at 9 in the evening with no other heating source in that room. The wall will still be radiating. That is thermal mass doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The mistake most people make with this system is using the wrong color. I've seen dark green tried, dark blue tried, dark gray tried. None of them perform like true black. Black masonry paint has a solar absorptivity of 0.95 to 0.97, meaning it absorbs 95 to 97% of the solar radiation that hits it. Dark green is around 0.85. That 10% difference is significant over the course of a heating season. Black, not nearly black, black. The second most common mistake is no air gap. I've seen people fix the polycarbonate directly against the painted wall. That eliminates convection. You get some radiant heating effect, but you lose the natural circulation that distributes heat into the room. 50 millimeters minimum gap, always. For a full south wall implementation, scaling from this demonstration up to a full room, you use the same principle at larger scale. A 1 meter wide by 2 meter high section delivers meaningful supplementary heating for a room of up to 25 square meters. The BRE research from 1980 documented 15 to 25% heating bill reduction for rooms with a properly installed trombe wall in the UK climate. That's on your existing heating bill, not your whole house, the room that benefits from the south-facing wall. For a room costing $200 a year to heat, that's $30 to $50 saved every year, from a one-time investment of $150 to $300 for a full implementation. The passive house architects in Germany, the passive house standard, integrate this principle into new builds. They call it a solar thermal storage wall. It's built into the fabric of the structure. For them, it contributes up to 30% of winter heating load in the right climate and orientation. We're not building a passive house today. We're demonstrating the principle for $43 and showing what happens when you scale it up. Total cost for the demonstration, $43. Total build time, 2 hours plus 24 hours drying time for the paint. Total measuring time on the first clear day, 4 to 6 hours to see the temperature differential accumulate. Every year, the heat pump industry takes billions from homeowners who are told there is no other choice for low-carbon heating. An average heat pump installation in the UK costs $9,500. The average payback period is 8 to 12 years, and that's the optimistic projection. The physics on this wall took me 2 hours and cost me the price of a decent lunch. It has no moving parts. It will not fail. It cannot break down. There is nothing to service. The BRE reports from 1977 to 1982 recommended integrating this principle into UK building regulations. They were never implemented. North Sea gas made it inconvenient for the energy industry. You now know what those reports said. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you're working with, what direction your south wall faces, what your current heating bill runs. I read every single comment. They tell me what to cover next. If this video was useful, subscribing helps me keep going. No pressure, never is. Next time, I'm covering the rainwater collection principle that the water companies lobbied to discourage in the 1990s, and exactly what you can legally collect and use yourself. Same principle, free resource, minimal cost, buried knowledge. Jack Holloway. See you then.